he got in agreement with the seller that he will get paid his fee, assignment fee, to his end investor, which was us, outside the closing. And so we acquired this property for $195,000. He had assigned $195. He had an assignment fee of $25,000, which we paid him outside the closing. Since I'm a partner in title company, we know how to structure the HUD for the totally legal way of showing, reflecting. The bank doesn't care who you are signing or what kind of project, what kind of itemized fee you're putting on the HUD. That's why you have to have a good investor-friendly title company who knows how to show that the legal way on the HUD. So bank will not have any kind of objection, or you won't have any kind of setback in your deal. We worked on this deal for about 4 months, before it finally came to fruition.
Did you say this is HUD?
HUD means the settlement statement that you get.
This is a HUD property?
No.
You don't mean that.
When I refer to HUD 1 is the settlement statement.
Okay.
Not a HUD property.
Right.
So we bought it for $195. We paid him $25,000. So overall, the total cost basis for this property was about $230, after all the closing costs, recording fees, and everything. At that point, we basically sat on it for 4 months. We didn't know what we wanted to do with it. How the comps, how we wanted to maximize the value of it. We ran through a lot of CMAs, because at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for, maximizing the value of the property. Okay, do we have to redo the plans of the property? This had two bathrooms, one in the basement, and two bedrooms. Our price point, what we was trying to target, was about high fives. In order to make it high fives, you have to reconfigure the whole. So it was a total gut job, Initially, when we bought the property, we can do it with $70,000 budget, just reconfigure, do the bathrooms and kitchen, and that would be it, but that was not the case. So from 2018 onwards, it took almost about a year to finish this project. And some of that is, you have to plan that ahead when you're looking at the property. Carrying costs, holding costs. Okay, when you add up all those numbers in, then you look at your bottom line. Hey, is it making sense for me to get into this deal? Because if you don't have reserves or enough money to hold the project, it can start bleeding real quick. You can start losing money real quick. So what we end up doing is, we went through the permitting process. Took us about 3 months to get, because we had to heavy up everything. We went from 2 bedroom to 4 bedrooms, 1 in the basement, 3 on top, with adding another bathroom, 2.5 bath additional, So I ended up making 4 3.5. And that's when I was going with Frank to look at, okay, hey, what 4 3.5 bathroom comps look like in this area. And basically was meeting our expectation where we wanted to be with the out sales, between 520 to 550 range. I know he mentioned there's a high comp, which is probably a bigger property than what we have here, at 575. But I think we will meet that expectation of between 520 and 550 range. I always like my focal point on all my properties. This is more on the lower end of my properties. My property runs about $1 million plus, and when we do another session, we will show you a bigger project than this. We totally gutted out everything. My main focus are kitchen, bathrooms. That it speaks out for itself, and those are the selling points in any time when you do a rehab. If you don't hold back on those two things, it will yield you what you're looking for in your project. Okay, and then we have our trademarks. We do a lot of backsplash, high-end cabinets, countertops. That sells. Any property that you'll go into, any of our properties, you will see those similarities, in all our projects. It took us about 90 to 120 days to finish this after we got our permits. So we started the work in August of 2018, and then we finished this basically 2 weeks ago. There's still some touch-up, point-up stuff that I have my contractors come back and do it. And at that point, we basically start, okay, hey, what are exit strategies here? Do we want to hold it? Do we want to sell it? What price point we are selling it? And that's when we get a feelers out. Okay, hey, at what price, at what time do we want to put this in the market? You know, now I know winter time is not always a great time to put it in. I like it, you know, because that means less competition. Then let your product speak for itself. You know, somebody once it's all staged, this gonna be a beautiful property. You know, when people walk in, they will see the detail, they will see the quality of. I don't put any Home Depot stuff in my projects. You know, people when they see this, they can tell the difference. This is not going to be Home Depot stuff here. You know, I rather spend another $1,500, $2,000 on my project, which is going to yield me $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 more. You know, I do not like to go down on my prices because I know what I put in, what it's worth. Well, sometimes based on competition and soft market, you have to adjust it, but hopefully not much, you know. Okay. So, and a lot of the plans are what the buyers are looking for in DC is open floor plan, you know. You take out everything, open it up, open kitchen concept, you know, with backsplash, pot fillers, everything what they ask for is there, you know. What I would do is you guys feel free to walk through. I'm going to walk through up and down so I can show you everything from start to finish. I don't know, is there a format that we want to do or just...
Yeah. I want to make sure that everybody heard those numbers on, and I'll go over here because I'm filming.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everybody heard those numbers that we mentioned because a lot of folks that show up in the room are looking to wholesale, and you heard $25,000. That's not every deal. However, that's not a bad deal. I mean, we've heard 2,500 all the way really to 250. So wholesaling is a sweet place to be in this industry, especially when you know the buyers. Now you just have to do what's necessary to find the sellers or find people with problems, and you solve those problems with really money. And we've got a process where we're able to lock those down real fast. In most cases, everybody's happy and, you know, everybody wins. And then you renovate it, and then there's bigger winners, you know, because now it's not a dilapidated property. It's sitting in the neighborhood. It's totally renovated, brings up the entire area. Taxes are better, everything. So, well, in DC it might not because they kill on vacant tax, like 10%. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through. I want to make sure that you heard those numbers though, because it was 195, then 225, and then there's still closing costs, and the out is gonna be in that 520 to 550 range. So how much did you actually, how you doing?
I spent 160.
You guys are staging, I see.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry. I spent $160,000.
160,000. So what you're looking at when you're walking around, see 160,000 on the rehab, and a lot of that isn't the drywall. It's not drywall.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, shoot them out. If you what we especially on something like this, because this hasn't even hit the market yet. So if you got any, like, hey, how did you decide to do this, or is there something that why did you choose this, or even something you don't like, because that kind of feedback is what we're going to hear from the market anyway, you know. And it's good to kind of, it's like, man, are we in a position to adjust that? Are we in a position to, you know, basically counter that, because now we already have the answers because we resolved it in here. And then it'll be something that you'll see why we did it on your deal. You'll say, you know what, I'm gonna do the same thing. And you heard him say that he's got his own project, like signature. And that's what you have to have. When you walk into your renovation, you should know that this is my renovation. And people should know that it's your renovation. So you really wanna get proud of what it is that represents you in every house. And it could be the exact same fixtures. It could be the exact same, you know, finishing. The exact same floors, exact same colors, whatever it is, make sure that you've got that little touch, because that is huge. I remember following Al Merman back in the day, and he was a big investor in the mid-90s, and every single one of his houses was painted gray and white. And the same with the Laosis. They had an absolute, you could drive down the street and you could name the investor, because from the street you could tell from the plaque that they put with the numbers, and when you walked in it was the exact same. And I don't care what neighborhood, it was the exact same, because that's the level they performed at. And so just know when you're walking through, we're looking for feedback too. So I saw a question here.
Yeah, rehabbers fuss at if I said wholesalers for, being down or being elevated costs, and they say, they have acquisition, holding costs, and all this kind of stuff. So it was kind of surprising to hear him say that he sat on the property for 4 months before, realizing what you want to do with it. So why did you sit on it for?
It's not more of it because the previous we have to switch the contractors. The initial contractor basically delayed the project by 4 months.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So sometimes it's an issue like that. Sometimes it's a market. Where we're going to sit back. However, I tell you right now, most people can't handle that. So it helps to be in a position that you can sit on it for 6 months, because if you're using a hard money lender, that's costing you. That's costing you a lot, and it could cost you your whole deal.
Which brings up another question. When you drive for dollars and you see a dilapidated house and you pull it up, and the LLC owns it, and it's been sitting for 6 months or a year, is that the same thing? They're determining what they want to do, or
it's possible.
Yeah, sometimes.
Should I call them and try and wholesale them?
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes you're right. They don't know. They may have bought it at such a great price. They may not want to go through the rehab.
Yeah.
They can just flip it and sell it to somebody else and make the same amount of money they would make if they had to hold it and go through the whole project, and do it themselves. For us, it was a great buy at 190. So we had about $150,000 to $200,000 spread in this thing. So if we held it for 4 months, it didn't really hurt our margins, and decide, okay, hey, do we want to flip it to another investor who's looking for it? Or do we want to go through and do it ourselves? And then on the outside, what do we want to do it? It's not I don't know where investors do that. They sit 3 months, and that's why the acquisition price becomes so important to you when you're buying it. What price point are you buying it at? That's why we're constantly harping on the message, hey, buy it at 65, 75, 70%. Because more than likely, sometimes the plans may not go the way you thought. Okay, hey, if I'm acquiring this property at this price point, I know if I do X, Y, and Z, I'll be able to sell it for this. Sometimes all those things doesn't line up, at one time. Your contractor may act out. He's missing in action for 6 months. There you go. It's your margin. Sometimes it's okay. Hey, if the market shifted on you, so instead of me going it, I just want to get rid of it. If you're doing more than one project, it's okay. This may be the least on my list of doing the project. I'll get to it later on. So it could be any one of those variables. When you're looking at it.
I have a question.
You definitely want to buy it right, because that'll solve a whole bunch of issues moving forward. Yeah.
I've noticed in this area, this neighborhood and the neighboring neighborhoods, it's a lot of gray houses with red doors. Is that you, or is that just the in thing now?
Well, people see it. Yeah, people see that. Okay, hey, if that's the trend, that's selling. They stick to it. Till something else comes up. Yeah.
So you haven't done many over here.
This southeast, this is my first. A lot of my projects in northwest. Yeah.
Would this house sell for that $1 million plus in northwest?
Depending on the neighborhood, yeah.
It's the right neighborhood, yes.
Yeah, you move pretty much any property to the right neighborhood, you can get $1 million. I mean, you put this in Calorama, you might be, above. You'll be at 1.5. So the zip code is real important.
Very important. Yeah.
And if you did, so there's some of you here that have never been to one of our meetups. And what he said, 65%, it's ARV. So it's basically 65% of the after repaired value, which if you run it at the high one, it's 550. So if you pull out your calculator and do 65% of 550, and then you also add your rehab, and that's the price, that's that margin. It's like, okay, how much room do we have? And that's the reason why the wholesaler was able to actually make some money on this, because there was margin, So he had a number, and that number wasn't quite what he got. That's what he wanted, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have crews that you're using on a consistent basis, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. We got a great group. So like today, he shows up. He's a contractor. He's got his portfolio and everything right in front of him. So I mean, that's a new relationship. You do. What do you do? You sound like you. You asked that question.
Well, that's because I have a degree in construction management. I've done some commercial buildings and some things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the network. It's all about networking. It's basically creating a group that we do these together. You know, this isn't one person doing this. This is, you know, quite a few pieces of our meetup doing this one project. So, I mean, the goal is to have those get off the bench, whether it's your money, whether it's your labor, whether it's your, you know, some things in it that you can sit back and you're like, yeah, I've got a little piece of this one. And they know
the building?
it was 1927, I think it is. Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, and I would have more technology here. However, it's just before I left, my computer decided it needed to get 10 Windows updates, and I was like, oh. And then they say, don't turn it off. And I was like, oh, okay. So my computer's sitting at the house. So I could easily email everyone, like the CMA, so that you can, you know, if you're in the neighborhood, what we're going to start doing on these is really coming into a neighborhood like this. There's another deal. There's 2 deals. There's 3 deals sitting around the corner, and nobody's knocked on the door yet. So it's really equipping you with, hey, you know, and sometimes the equipment is, you know, that somebody's ready to do something. Because a lot of us are scared because, man, what am I going to do if they say yes? Man, raise your hand and say, okay, I need somebody to pay for this. We've got we got somebody to pay for it. We've got the contractors. We've got all of the pieces. What we don't have is enough doors. So the key is to go knock on doors, make phone calls, and have the right conversation. And a conversation in this area would be basically that we just finished a project around the corner, and we're looking for the next project. You know, we'd love to, you know, who do you know that's looking to sell or having some issues with their property right now? And that real good nosy neighbor is going to be like, you know, Bessie just passed, and you probably should come to their cousins over there. And do it during daytime, because, you know, this is Anacostia. There's still some issues during certain hours. However, that's DC, and it happens everywhere. So I'm not talking just walk around at night and start knocking on doors. That might not work out well for you. You might meet someone. You definitely meet someone. But that's what our plan is, to basically provide our group, this tight group, hard hat sessions with all of the equipment necessary to basically get out there and start drumming up business, so that you're the $5,000 or $25,000 you know, wholesale fee earner, or you're the one that's like, hey, I found this, let's do it together. Now you're JV in it, you know. So that's all we're doing here, you know. So let's walk around. We can kind of go through piece by piece. This room, I mean, if you've been in any DC houses, this was a wall, you know. That behind you wasn't there at all. Was there a wall going this way? It was the L or the T, right? Yeah, so you got the wall. It basically is a wall, a doorway, and then you go into the doorway into the kitchen. So this was all, it's a T that goes through the whole house and chops it up. And anyone that's seen anything renovated in this area now, you know that when you hit that front door, you need to be able to almost see the back of the house.
So the wall was coming across here?
Yeah, it goes cut across here. Yep.
Okay.
So was there a hallway cutting through to the kitchen, or this was
no?
Yeah.
It wasn't low bear, was it?
No. Yeah. In a lot of cases, that's not. But even if it is, all you got to do is I-beam it across. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when there's a bathroom. But you'll learn that bathrooms are supported differently. So the bathrooms are right here. Yeah. Just because they know that you're gonna have 20 gallons worth of water in it, so that's a different load.
Right.
So they're always supported differently. And most of them aren't, but that, again, part of your dream team is an architect. And that's part of, you know, what most good contractors going to have with them anyway, but that's part of what we make sure that we equip and we're ready for, so that when we're walking through a house, yeah, we've got some good ideas. However, architects like, yeah, that wall can't go nowhere. You know, we'll have one floor, and that's not good. The hardwood floors, are these the original ones?
Original ones. Yeah, we kept that one.
They look nice.
Yeah.
So in DC, hardwood is typically on the first floor, softwood is on the top floor. So you'll see grooves almost walking up the steps, because they actually, for some reason, used a softer wood on a lot of the steps in DC. And but they're easy to finish. If you don't have big, gigantic black stains or warps or some dry spots, they can be brought back to look like brand new floors, you know, that you'd end up going and buying in the store. So that's something that I always look for. You'll walk into a lot of houses right now, and you'll see a lot of the wood finish. Depending on the neighborhood, the wood finish is almost, they don't want to see it anymore. There are still some neighborhoods that you could make as much money keeping it as you would removing it. The problem is that most people want to see this. So it's hard to leave any of the nice wood finishing when you wiped out all of the middle sections.
Yeah.
Recessed lighting, obviously that wasn't here before. So everybody wants to see recessed lighting. What I like to see as a realtor is more than one switch with recessed lighting, because I don't want to hit one switch and 20 lights come on.
Yeah.
So you definitely want them to be zoned in some form of fashion. Victor mentioned you want to focus on all of your renovations. You want to spend your money on your kitchens and bathrooms, and that's absolutely true. The only thing that even gets close to that would be the basement. If the basement's unfinished, you want to finish it. And in DC, sometimes you don't have the right height. So now you've got to dig down to get the right height. Yes.
The house I was living in Catonsville, I like it was cut in half, but I had one side was finished and the other side wasn't, so I used that for storage of laundry.
Right.
That kind of didn't care if that part was finished or not. So I don't know. Is it good to do half and half on the whole?
Yeah, in most cases, people need storage. Right. So you actually want to leave something where people can store stuff. Like in DC, you've got flat roofs, you don't have attics. So, you know, even just keeping your seasonal stuff somewhere, it makes sense to have it. Now, what you'll see is you see the driveway. When you go to back, you'll see the driveway. This used to have a garage, and that's where the fourth bedroom is. So when we go down there, you'll see that. But are there any questions up here pertaining to the renovation, to anything, staging?
Driving here, I never think this would look like this on the inside.
Nah, you'd be amazed. I mean, there's some renovations over here that, I mean, they spend way more than $200,000. It's like, hold up, it's still Anacostia. But what you're gonna see is DC is on a tear. Before the bus happened, we were at 18-20%. And before this little bit of slowdown right now, it was back to that. So you're really seeing DC
18-20%
appreciation.
Okay.
Yeah, and the norm is like 8 to 12. And that's still a lot of appreciation. However, DC's appreciation is skyrocketing. However, you got those little pockets that still need a lot of help, like Anacostia, Randall Heights, Congress Heights. Deanwood, just because of the sheer size, Marshall Heights. So those are the target areas where we can do this because the numbers are there. And when I say the numbers, the margin is there. You can pick them up at 150, 200 and sell them for 500. In some areas, you got to pick them up for $1 million to sell them for $2 million. Those numbers still work. However, you know, that's a different ball game. However, that's where we want everybody to learn to play. So we're going to knock out this floor. If we've got any questions, feel free to just shoot them out.
You do the market analysis?
I do, yeah. I'm a full-time realtor. I know some folks weren't here. I'm a full-time realtor, so I do all of the CMAs. I make sure that the numbers make sense. And I make sure that what we're doing makes sense, too. So, yeah, what we're doing is extremely important. Hello, hello. You out there taking care of business? Yeah, you got it. You got it. I'm saying. Okay.
Where was there a hole there?
Yeah.
You opened it up.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've been in any of these houses, this is the wall. Yeah, this is the wall. This is a tiny kitchen. So this wall has a door right here, and then this, you know, this little area. Sometimes they pop the refrigerator right here, and then you gotta walk down the steps. Well, in this case, you had a T, you had an opening here, and you had an opening here. So this was a
That was not there before.
The one thing that I did, I had
staging standpoint.
like you can do one of those little things where you move it over. Right. And put four chairs. I mean, that in my mind is.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
If you have a breakfast bar, you have to be able to use it.
You have to be able to use it. You're right. That is true. The yeah, a lot of this back here, everything in the back was redone. That was a hot mess. I wish I had my before pictures, but I'm gonna post everybody left an email address so that you can see what this looked like before.
You have the picture of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I got all the pictures. I've got 3 videos,
Yeah.
so I'll blast the YouTube video to you.
We do all the concrete work out there, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's something I put in all my
Yeah,
properties.
because it was that
People
wall.
like that?
You not trying
That wall was leaning a little bit, so it would have never passed any inspection.
So your team is a realtor, contractor.
Yeah, all, yeah, so it's almost all full.
Everything you need is on the team. So,
Did you go to Home Depot?
yeah, realtor, I call it realtor,
You said that
money,
Oh, okay.
because that's what's next. Then the contractors, architect, title.
you gotta get
And, I mean, the realtor is on the initial
shower
acquisition
ride.
and the sale on the back end. And then how you close it in the middle is basically you just hire a company. You need good contractors to clean it up, you need an architect to write it up, then you need the money to pick it up. So, you know, once you do all, that's really all pieces you need.